Chapter 49. The Diagnostic Popsicle. For the first time ever, my friends, Sashi, Terry, and I had made plans to go into town and do something fun together. We had never done that before, and had only been out a short time when Russ called to tell me I needed to come home. He said Kevin's folks were there, and Kim and Kevin had birthday presents for him and Kevin's father, Paul. Their birthdays were just weeks apart. I was irritated that I had to cancel my plans to hurry home to watch two grown men open presents. Russ was sitting in his high back chair, and Kevin's folks were on the love seat, so I plopped down on the couch. Kevin handed Paul and Russ small gifts that looked identical. It was difficult hiding my bad attitude. Russ tore the top of the paper off and peeked in. Surprised, he asked, "Do you know how much one of these cost?" I was annoyed at such a ridiculous question. "They should," I replied. "They bought it." Paul opened the side of his gift and threw his head back, letting out a huge belly laugh. Now I was curious. What kind of gifts would cause such reactions? Kevin's mom, Evelyn, and I were still in the dark. They pulled the paper off and revealed two small boxes that once held pregnancy tests. Evelyn began to cry, and I was embarrassed for being upset and sarcastic. Kim and Kevin had been married for 5 years and were finally having our first grandchild. They were the best presents ever. A baby shower was scheduled for April 1st. As Kim was due in May, pink announcements had been sent out and gifts had been purchased, which were beautifully wrapped with frills and bows. As the guests arrived, there was much confusion and commotion. The cake and decorations were blue, including a banner welcoming a baby boy. Jen, Kim's sister, took a few minutes to apologize for the misunderstanding. A second ultrasound had revealed Kim was expecting a boy instead of a girl. Most guests were distressed as they had purchased adorable girl outfits, while others were thrilled. After giving the guests time to express their objections and frustrations, Jen paused for a moment, then blurted out, "April Fools! It is a girl!" Total chaos erupted as women objected, scowled, and laughed at our charade. The time passed by quickly, and when Liz was born, I couldn't have been more surprised. We're from a long line of Swedes, but this little beauty had dark eyes and hair. As she grew, she was constantly full of giggles and bubbly conversations. I kept a diary of all our grandchildren. Liz's entries were full of funny episodes and remarks. One memorable episode was when she was 3. I was teaching her how to crack an egg. We broke the first egg into a bowl, checked for shells, and dumped it into the skillet. We broke the next egg, but it had blood in it, so I said, "Uh-oh, we're going to have to throw this one away." Before we cracked the third one, Liz put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Grandma, let's not hit this one so hard." Eventually, Kim and Kevin had more children and moved next door to us. It had been a year of plagues for everyone. We'd had bronchitis, laryngitis, sinus infections, nausea, vomiting, fevers, and at one point I was so ill I threatened to call an ambulance if only I could get out of bed. Liz's younger siblings, Katie and John, were also sick with high fevers and a rash which only lasted a couple of days. So when Liz became ill, Kim knew it was a virus that just needed to run its course. However, she wasn't getting any better. She was actually getting worse. Her fever kept bouncing between 99 and 103. On the 6th day, Kim called to say Liz was jaundiced. I ran next door to find her limp and orange as a pumpkin. Russ hurried home from work to care for the other children while Kim and I took her to the hospital. The emergency room was full, but the triage nurse said Liz was the sickest one there, so she was admitted to a private room. Although the rule was only one person could be with her, I worked there as a nurse, so they allowed both Kim and I to stay. The doctors were baffled. They thought it was hepatitis, mononucleosis, gallstones, or some type of liver damage. She was only 7 years old, but was deathly ill. She couldn't feed herself and could barely talk. We were praying, reaching out to family and friends to pray as well. I was in tears by the third day and told Kim, if they don't transfer her to a children's hospital, they're going to keep guessing until she dies. She had been ill for 9 days when her pediatrician came in to see her again. Liz was thin and gaunt. He took one look at her and told us, I think I know what's going on, but I need to check with a pediatric specialist from the children's hospital. With that, he walked out. I wondered how long that would take. The children's hospital was 45 minutes away, and it was already past 7 in the evening. Frightening thoughts crossed my mind. I wondered if Liz would last long enough to even get a second opinion. Just then, a tall woman came in and introduced herself as one of the pediatricians from the children's hospital. She had stopped in to make some routine rounds. After her examination, she told us she agreed with the doctor's diagnosis, but offered no further explanation. She left as quickly as she had come. Kim and I looked at each other with puzzled looks. What was it they were agreeing on? Her doctor returned a few minutes later. Standing at the end of Liz's bed, he said, in 11 years, I've only seen one other case like this. I believe she has Kawasaki's. Kawasaki's is a rare disease of unknown origin. Its symptoms are swollen hands and feet, rash, high fever, red tongue, and red lips. The disease must be treated within 10 days of onset, or there is irreversible damage to the heart, which causes the arteries to become weak. Weakened arteries can cause aneurysms to develop, pockets like a bubble or balloon, which catch blood and allow deadly blood clots to form. Since all of Liz's blood vessels were restricted, the blood flow to her liver slowed, which accounted for the jaundice, orange-colored skin, and other problems. Her doctor continued, the moment I saw her bright red lips, I immediately thought it must be Kawasaki's. There was a moment of silence before Kim spoke up. Doctor, Liz just ate a red popsicle. That was a symptom that triggered her doctor's suspicions. God used that cherry popsicle to diagnose her illness. She was immediately transferred to the children's hospital by ambulance. There were no tests to substantiate if she had the disease. Only if she responded to treatment would it prove his theory correct. Intravenous immunoglobulin infusion, IVIG, is an extremely expensive human serum collected from thousands of blood donors, and Liz was about to receive 5 vials. After the second vial, she was alert, talking, and playing video games, confirming his diagnosis. We praised God for answering our prayers and a popsicle that saved her life. Her doctor was a wonderful Christian and called Liz his miracle popsicle patient. God not only saved Liz with a popsicle, but he saved the family from financial disaster. Kevin was in college at the time of Liz's illness, attempting to get his prerequisites out of the way for dental school. His tuition was taking a toll on their budget. Since the family rarely got ill, they decided to drop their medical coverage. They were in their final 2 days of their 30-day lapse notice when Liz went into the hospital. Kim quickly sent in the insurance payment. Between the doctor visits, the ambulance ride, the 2 hospitals, and the 5 vials of IVIG, their medical bills would have been astronomical. God's timing is perfect. The doctors hadn't considered Kawasaki's, as it normally flares up in children between the ages of 2 and 5. Liz was almost 8. It was a medical mystery that wouldn't be uncovered for years to come. Since our family had many short women, Kim wasn't concerned about the 4'10" height of her teenage daughter. However, the doctors did some genetic studies just to be sure. The results revealed Liz had a rare syndrome that tricked her body into thinking she was much younger. This allowed Kawasaki's to emerge at a much older age than expected. Once she started growth hormones, she was able to grow and develop to her appropriate size.